The sun has long since dipped below the horizon, leaving behind a sky that is no longer blue but a deep, heavy gray. The air in the courtyard is cooling down. It is the time of evening when colors disappear and everything turns into silhouettes and shadows. Here, in the quiet corner of a Roman town, the work does not stop, but it slows down. It changes its rhythm. The frantic energy of the morning market is gone. The loud shouting of the street vendors has faded away. Now, there is only the slow, steady preparation for the night's long soak. We are in the Fullonica, the laundry house. It is a space built of stone and patience. The walls are thick, plastered in a pale color that is now stained with the smoke of oil lamps and the dust of 1,000 days. The ground is hard-packed earth and stone, uneven underfoot, worn smooth by generations of sandals walking back and forth, carrying the same heavy loads, day after day, year after year. There is a smell here. It is a sharp smell, but it is not aggressive. It is the smell of ammonia, of old salts, of wet wool, and of damp earth. It is the scent of cleanliness in the ancient world. It hangs in the air, heavy and still, like a blanket. If you were here, you would barely notice it after a few minutes. It would just become part of the silence. In the center of the courtyard, there are large clay pots. They are called dolia. They are massive, round vessels buried halfway into the ground to keep them cool and steady. Their rims are thick and chipped. They stand like silent guards in the dim light. Tonight, they are waiting. They are waiting to be filled. They are waiting to do the work that requires no movement, only time. A single oil lamp sits on a low wooden bench. The flame is small. It flickers gently when a slight breeze moves through the open atrium. The light is orange and weak. It does not reach the corners of the room. It only illuminates a small circle of the floor and a pile of fabric resting nearby. Let your eyes rest on the pile of fabric. There is nothing urgent here. There is no rush to move it. It is just a pile of dirty tunics. They are made of wool. Heavy, scratchy, thick Roman wool. Some are the color of oatmeal. Some are a dull, faded gray. One or two might once have been white, but now they are stained with the dust of the road and the sweat of labor. A worker stands near the pile. We do not need to know his name. He is tired, but his movements are not strained. He moves with the muscle memory of someone who has done this task 10,000 times. He does not need to think. His mind is quiet. His shoulders are relaxed. He reaches down slowly. His hand, rough and calloused, touches the top tunic. Listen to the sound of the wool. It is a dry, rustling sound. Scratch. Rustle. He lifts the tunic. It is heavy. He shakes it out just once. A small cloud of dust drifts away from the fabric, floating in the weak light of the lamp like tiny stars, before settling back down onto the stone floor. He inspects the tunic. He is looking for tears. He is looking for loose threads. He turns the fabric over in his hands. The movement is slow, deliberate. There is a hole near the hem. He runs his thumb over the frayed edge. He does not fix it now. That is for another day. That is for the sewers. Tonight is only for the soaking. Tonight is only for the liquid and the stone. He places the tunic into a different pile. This is the pile for the large vat. He reaches for the next one. You do not need to pay attention to the specific garments. They are all the same. They are all just shapes in the dark. If your mind wanders, let it wander. There is no test. There is no story you need to follow. There is only the rhythm of the work. Reach, lift, inspect, place, reach, lift, inspect, place. The worker picks up a heavier cloak. It is a pinula, a thick outer garment. It is dark brown. It feels dense in his hands. It holds the cold of the evening within its fibers. He unfolds it. The sound is lower, a heavy thud of fabric against fabric. He runs his hand down the length of the wool. It is coarse. It would feel rough against the skin. He checks the hood. It is intact. He folds the heavy cloak once, then twice. He places it on the pile for the large vat. The shadows on the wall stretch and contract with the flickering of the lamp. The shadow of the worker's arm reaches up the wall, touches the ceiling, and comes back down. It is a silent dance, up and down, up and down. Outside the walls of the laundry house, the city is settling. Occasionally, you might hear a sound from far away. A wooden cartwheel rolling over a cobblestone. Rumble, rumble. It is distant. It is moving away. It does not matter. Perhaps a dog barks once, twice, and then stops. The silence that follows is deeper than before. The worker moves to a large clay jar in the corner. This jar holds the cleaning fluid. It is aged urine collected days ago, fermented until the urea turned to ammonia. It is a powerful cleaner. In this time, it is the most valuable liquid for a fuller. It is gold. It dissolves the grease. It brightens the white. He picks up a smaller vessel, a pitcher made of simple pottery. He dips it into the large storage jar. The liquid makes a sound as the pitcher breaks the surface. Gloop. The pitcher fills. He lifts it. The liquid is heavy. He carries it to the first soaking vat buried in the floor. He pours. Listen to the liquid falling. It is a consistent, monotonous sound. It splashes against the bottom of the empty clay vat. It swirls. It foams slightly. The smell rises a little stronger now, sharp and clean in the nose, clearing the mind. He walks back to the storage jar. He dips the pitcher again. He walks back to the vat. He pours. This will take a long time. The vat is large. The pitcher is small. There is no machine to pump the fluid. There is only the man, the pitcher, and the walk. Dip, walk, pour, walk back. Dip, walk, pour, walk back. The level of the liquid in the vat rises slowly, very slowly, an inch, 2 inches. It creates a dark, reflective pool at the bottom of the vessel. The light from the oil lamp catches the surface of the liquid, creating a small, shimmering reflection of the flame deep inside the dark pot. The worker stops for a moment. He rolls his neck. A small crack sounds from his tired joints. He takes a breath. He looks at the pile of wool tunics. He looks at the vat. There is so much time. The night is long. There is no need to hurry. The ammonia needs hours to work. The wool needs hours to absorb. He picks up the first tunic from the sorted pile, the oatmeal-colored one. He walks to the edge of the vat. He holds the tunic over the dark liquid. He lets it go. The fabric falls. It hits the surface of the liquid with a wet plop. It does not sink immediately. It floats there, a dry island on the wet surface. The wool resists the water at first. It is stubborn. The worker picks up a long wooden pole. The wood is smooth, polished by years of use, dark with oil and age. He pushes the tunic down. He presses the wood into the center of the fabric. The liquid rushes over the edges of the wool. Bubbles rise to the surface. Bloop, bloop. The air trapped inside the fibers is escaping. The tunic turns a darker shade as it becomes wet. It grows heavy. It sinks to the bottom of the vat. He goes back to the pile. He takes the next tunic, the gray one. He carries it to the vat. He drops it in. He uses the pole, push, submerge, wait for the bubbles. You can close your eyes now if you wish. You know what is happening. It is the same motion over and over again. The pile of dry clothes gets smaller. The vat gets fuller. The rhythm is steady like a heartbeat. The heavy brown cloak is next. It is bulky. It takes more effort to push it down. The worker has to lean his weight onto the wooden pole. The liquid swirls around the heavy wool. The cloak creates large, slow bubbles that rise to the surface and pop lazily. The smell of wet animal hair joins the smell of the ammonia. It is an earthy, grounded scent. The room is very quiet. The only sounds are the swish of the fabric, the splash of the liquid, and the soft tap of the wooden pole against the clay side of the vat. Tap, tap, swish. The oil lamp is burning low. The worker pauses to adjust the wick. He uses a small metal pick to pull the wick up slightly. The flame brightens for a second, flaring up, revealing the texture of the stone wall, the cracks in the plaster, the spiderweb in the high corner that no one ever reaches. Then the flame settles back down into its steady, small glow. The shadows return to their places. The vat is now half full of cloves. They are soaking. They are beginning the process. The chemical reaction is starting, microscopically, silently. The ammonia is breaking down the oils left by human skin. It is dissolving the dirt of the Roman streets. It is doing the work so the man does not have to. But the vat is not full yet. There is more liquid needed. The worker sets the wooden pole against the wall. He picks up the pitcher again. He returns to the storage jar. Dip, walk, pour. He pours the liquid over the soaking clothes. It makes a different sound now. It does not hit the hollow clay bottom. It hits the wet, soggy mass of wool. It is a muffled sound. Splosh. A soft, wet sound. The liquid filters down through the layers of fabric, filling every gap, soaking every fiber. He repeats this 10 times, maybe 20. He does not count. He stops when the liquid covers the clothes completely. He stops when the surface is smooth and dark again. He stands by the vat and watches. He is checking to see if the clothes float up. Sometimes an air pocket remains. A sleeve might drift to the surface. If it does, he will push it back down. He waits. The surface remains still. Nothing moves. The clothes are heavy. They are asleep at the bottom of the pot. He wipes his hands on a rag hanging from his belt. The rag is rough linen. He wipes his palms, then the back of his hands. He takes a deep breath, inhaling the cool night air that mixes with the sharp laundry scent. There are other vats. There are other piles. He moves to the next station. This station is for the white togas. These require more care. They must be perfect. They must be bright. But the process is the same. The boredom is the same. He looks at the pile of togas. They are large. A toga is a massive piece of cloth, meters of wool that must be draped carefully. To wash a toga is a heavy task. It is a mountain of white fabric. He picks up the edge of a toga. It is finer wool than the tunics. It is softer. It flows through his fingers like water, but it is dirty. The hem is stained with mud. There is a spot of wine near the shoulder. He begins to inspect the toga inch by inch. He unrolls it. He walks backward, pulling the fabric with him, extending it across the clean part of the floor. He looks for tears. He looks for thin spots. The lamplight casts long shadows across the folds of the white wool. It looks like a landscape of snowy hills and valleys. He finds a burr, a small prickly seed pod caught in the wool. He stops. He picks it out carefully with his fingernails. He flicks it away into the shadows. He continues his inspection. There is no rush. The night is young. The city sleeps, the emperor sleeps, the soldiers on the borders sleep. But here the wool waits, the water waits, the stone waits. He begins to fold the toga loosely. He gathers it in his arms. It is a large bundle. He carries it to the second vat. This vat is reserved for the whites. He lowers the bundle into the empty clay belly of the pot. He walks back to the pitcher. Dip, walk, pour. The sound of the liquid hitting the fine wool is softer. It is a whisper, hiss, as the liquid absorbs instantly into the dry, thirsty fabric. This is the work. It is not glorious. It is not written in the history books, but it is what happened every night in every town for hundreds of years. The slow cleaning of the day's life, the erasing of the stains, the preparation for tomorrow. The worker stops. He sits on the low wooden bench for a moment. He rests his elbows on his knees. He stares at the flame of the lamp. He does not think about the future. He does not think about the past. He simply exists in this moment of quiet. He listens to the silence. The liquid in the vat settles. The bubbles stop rising. The room is perfectly still. The worker stands up from the wooden bench. The movement is slow, a gradual straightening of the spine. He does not rush. There is nowhere to go. The night has settled fully over the laundry house and the silence has deepened. The distant sounds of the city have vanished completely. Now there is only the space within these four walls. He picks up the oil lamp. The small flame tilts, sending shadows swinging wildly across the plastered walls for a moment before stabilizing. He walks across the stone floor. His sandals make a soft slap sound against the hard-packed earth. He is moving toward the back of the courtyard, to the area known as the saltus. Here, the architecture changes slightly. Built into the ground, rising about waist-high, are small masonry stalls. They look like narrow stone boxes. They are partitioned off from one another by low walls. These are the treading stalls. This is where the cleaning happens. Not by magic, not by intricate tools, but by weight and rhythm. The worker sets the lamp down on a small ledge built into the wall. The light is closer now. It illuminates the texture of the stone partitions. The stone is rough, pitted by years of moisture and acidity. It is cool to the touch. He begins to prepare himself. He reaches down to his feet. His fingers find the leather straps of his sandals. He undoes the knot on the left foot. It is a simple knot. The leather is worn and soft. He pulls the strap loose. The sandal falls away. He places his bare foot on the cold stone floor. He undoes the right sandal. He pulls the strap. He slides his foot out. He places the sandals neatly together, side by side against the wall. He is barefoot now. His feet are broad and flat. They are the feet of a worker accustomed to standing, accustomed to the ground. He reaches down to the hem of his tunic. He pulls it up, gathering the fabric around his waist and ties it securely with a cord. His legs are bare. The air is cool against his skin. He approaches the first stall. Inside there is already a mixture waiting. It is the same liquid from the soaking vats, mixed with water. In the bottom of the stall there is a pile of clothes that have already soaked. They are wet. They are heavy. They are a dark, shapeless mass at the bottom of the stone box. He places his hands on the tops of the partition walls. The stone is damp. He leans his weight on his arms. He lifts one leg over the wall. He lowers his foot into the stall. The sensation is immediate. The liquid is cold. It is slippery. His foot sinks into the pile of wet wool. It is a soft, yielding feeling. The wool squelches under his weight. He lifts his other leg over the wall. He stands with both feet inside the stall. The liquid comes up to his shins. He stands there for a moment, adjusting his balance. The bottom is uneven because of the clothes. He has to find his footing. He wiggles his toes, gripping the wet fabric beneath him. He reaches for a small bowl sitting on the ledge near the lamp. Inside the bowl is a fine gray powder. This is Creta Fullonia, fuller's earth. It is a type of clay, rich in minerals. It is essential. It absorbs the grease that the ammonia loosens. It is the earth that cleans the wool. He takes a handful of the powder. He sprinkles it over the wet clothes around his feet. The dust floats for a second in the air, catching the light of the lamp before settling onto the dark liquid. It dissolves slowly, turning the water slightly milky. He takes another handful. He sprinkles it. He dusts his hands off, rubbing them together to remove the last grains of clay. And then the work begins. It is a dance of gravity. It is the saltus fullonius, the fuller's dance, though there is no music and there is no audience. He lifts his left leg. The liquid drips off his calf. Drip, drip. He drives his foot down, squelch. The sound is wet and heavy. The air trapped in the wool is forced out. The liquid is forced through the fibers. He lifts his right leg. He drives it down, squish. Left, right. The pace is incredibly slow. It is not a run. It is a trudge. Imagine walking through deep, heavy mud. That is the feeling. The wool tries to hold onto his foot. It creates suction. Every time he lifts his leg, there is a resistance. A soft sucking sound. Schluck. He holds onto the side walls for support. His arms are straight, his shoulders locked. His weight is entirely on his feet. Stomp, pause, lift, stomp, pause, lift. The liquid swirls around his ankles. It turns frothy. The soap-like reaction is happening. Bubbles form, gray, thick bubbles that cluster around his shins. The fuller's earth is grinding against the wool, microscopic stones scrubbing the fibers, removing the microscopic dirt. He looks down at his feet. They are disappearing into the foam. He watches the bubbles pop, one by one. A large bubble near his big toe expands, shimmering with a faint rainbow color from the oil lamp, and then bursts silently. His gaze unfocuses. He is not looking at the clothes anymore. He is looking at the pattern of the stone wall in front of him. There is a crack in the plaster that looks like a river. He traces the line of the crack with his eyes. It goes up, branches to the left, and fades away. Stomp, squelch, lift, splash. This must continue for a long time, not minutes, hours. The dirt of the Roman Empire is stubborn. The dust of the roads, the soot from the fires, the oils from the skin, it is all deep in the thick weave of the wool. It takes thousands of steps to get it out. The worker shifts his weight. He turns slightly in the stall to tread on a different section of the fabric. He feels a button under his heel. He adjusts his foot. He presses down. The sound is hypnotic. It is a rhythm that mimics the heartbeat but slower. Much slower. Thump, squelch, pause, thump, squelch, pause. The air in the laundry is humid now. The smell of the wet wool is stronger here. It smells like a wet sheep, a natural, organic smell. It is not unpleasant. It is just the smell of raw material. He closes his eyes for a moment. He knows the boundaries of the stall. He does not need to see. He can feel the walls under his hands. He can feel the clothes under his feet. In the darkness behind his eyelids, the motion continues. Up and down. The body becomes a machine. There is no thought required. This is a time for the mind to rest, even while the body works. Perhaps he thinks of nothing. Perhaps his mind is as empty as the clay jars in the courtyard. There is a peace in this emptiness. There is no decision to be made. There is no problem to solve. There is only the next step. He opens his eyes. The flame of the lamp has not moved. The shadows have not moved. It feels as if time has stopped inside the Fullonica. He presses his foot down into a thick cloak. He feels the density of it. He twists his foot slightly, a grinding motion to work the clay into the weave. Twist, press, lift. The liquid in the stall is now murky. It is dark gray. The dirt is leaving the clothes. The water is taking the burden. The clothes are becoming lighter, cleaner, even though they look dark and heavy now. He stops for a brief moment to catch his breath. He stands still in the stall. The liquid settles around his legs. The churning stops. The silence rushes back in to fill the space. He hears his own breathing. In, out, slow and steady. A small drop of sweat rolls down his temple. It tickles, but he does not wipe it away. He lets it fall. It lands on his shoulder. He begins again. Lift, stomp, lift, stomp. He is working on a batch of tunics now. They are lighter than the cloaks. They give way easier under his feet. The rhythm creates a small wave in the stall. The liquid sloshes gently against the stone sides. Slosh, slosh. The repetition is soothing, it is consistent. The world outside may be chaotic, politics change, emperors change, seasons change, but the laundry is always the same. The wool is always wool. The water is always water. Gravity is always gravity. There is comfort in this certainty. He looks at his hands gripping the wall. His knuckles are white in the dim light. He relaxes his grip. He does not need to hold on so tight. The stone will support him. He watches a moth flutter near the oil lamp. It is a small gray moth. It circles the flame, round and round. It does not get too close. It just orbits the light, a silent companion in the night. The worker watches it. His head turns slightly to follow its path. The moth flies away into the darkness of the ceiling beams. The worker returns his attention to the stall. Stomp, squelch. He pushes a heavy fold of fabric from the corner of the stall to the center with his toes. He needs to make sure every inch is trodden. He maneuvers the wet wool. It is slippery and heavy, like moving a sleeping animal. He gets it to the center. He steps on it. The pressure forces a stream of bubbles to the surface. The clay is doing its work. The night wears on. The temperature drops slightly. The stone floor outside the stall is cooling. But inside the stall, the friction creates a tiny amount of warmth. The water is not freezing. It is tepid. This is the life of the fuller. It is a life of fluids and fabrics, of repetition and patience. It is a quiet life. Tonight, there are no customers complaining about a late delivery. There are no masters shouting orders. There is only the process. The worker shifts his weight to his left leg. He shakes out his right leg, a small movement to keep the blood flowing. Water droplets fly from his foot and hit the wall. Spat, spat. He resumes, step, sink, step, sink. The contents of the stall are thoroughly mixed now. The water, the urine, the fuller's earth, and the wool have become one entity, a churning, cleaning mass. He looks up at the opening in the roof of the atrium. The square of sky is pitch black. There are no stars visible from this angle, just the heavy velvet of the night. It is a blanket over the world, keeping everything quiet, keeping everything still. He is merely a part of the machinery of the night. Like the moon moving across the sky, he moves in his station, without hurry, without pause. The sound of the water sloshing is the only clock he needs. Slosh, squish, thump. He leans his forehead against the cool stone of the wall in front of him. He closes his eyes again. He continues to tread. The rhythm is internal now. He could do this in his sleep. Perhaps he is half asleep. The line between waking and sleeping blurs when the motion is this constant, this monotonous. Step, sink, step, sink. The bubbles rise, the dirt dissolves, the night continues. The rhythmic splashing in the treading stall slows down. The motion becomes less frequent. Step, pause, and then finally silence. The worker has stopped. The treading is done. The wool has been stomped for hours. The fibers have been crushed and massaged until the clay and the ammonia have done their work. Now the clothes sit in a dense, gray sludge at the bottom of the stall, waiting for the next phase. The worker stands still for a moment, letting the liquid settle around his ankles. He breathes out, a long, slow exhalation that seems to deflate his tired shoulders. The air is still cool, but his skin is warm from the exertion. He places his hands on the stone partition walls again. They are still damp, still cool. He prepares to leave the stall. He shifts his weight to his right leg. He lifts his left leg slowly. The suction of the mud and wet wool pulls at his foot, schluck. It releases with a soft, wet sound. He lifts his foot high over the low stone wall. Liquid drips from his calf, falling back into the tank. Drip, drip, drip. He places his wet foot on the dry stone floor of the corridor. It leaves a dark, wet footprint. He repeats the motion with his right leg. Lift, pull against the suction, swing over the wall, place down. He is out. He stands on the solid ground of the Fullonica floor. Next to the stalls, there is a small basin of fresh water kept for the workers. He dips a ladle into it and pours the cool, clean water over his legs. The gray, soapy mixture washes away. It runs in rivulets down his shins, over his ankles, and pools on the floor before disappearing into a small drainage channel cut into the stone. He washes his feet. He rubs his heel with his hand. The grit of the fuller's earth is stubborn, but the water takes it away. He dries his legs with a rough linen cloth. The friction is a dull, scratching sound in the quiet room. He does not put his sandals back on yet. The floor is wet here. It is better to be barefoot. Now comes the heavy work. The clothes must be moved. He turns back to the stall. He leans over the wall. He reaches down into the gray liquid. His hands disappear into the murk. He feels around until he finds the thick fold of a tunic. He grips it. He pulls. The tunic is incredibly heavy now. It is saturated with liquid. It weighs 4, maybe 5 times what it weighed when it was dry. He heaves it up. Liquid pours off it in a sheet, crashing back into the stall. Splash. The sound echoes off the hard walls. He does not carry it far. Just a few steps away, there is a series of larger, deeper basins. These are the rinsing tanks. They are fed by a constant, slow flow of water from the town's aqueduct system. A lead pipe protrudes from the wall, and a steady, crystal-clear stream of water falls from it. Listen to the water. It is a different sound than the splashing of the vats. It is a musical sound, a continuous, high-pitched tinkling as the water hits the surface of the rinsing pool. Trill, splash, burble. The water in this tank is clear. It is dark because it is deep and the light is low, but it is clean. It moves constantly, a gentle current swirling around the stone basin. The worker carries the dripping, gray, heavy tunic to the edge of this clear pool. He drops it in. Plunge. The gray liquid clinging to the tunic clouds the clear water immediately. It blooms like a dark storm cloud in a clear sky, swirling and expanding. But the current catches it. The fresh water pushes the dirty water away, towards the overflow drain. He goes back to the stall. He reaches in. He finds the heavy cloak. This one is a struggle. He has to use both hands. He grunts softly with the effort. He hauls the mass of wet wool over the wall. He hugs it to his chest to carry it, soaking the front of his own tunic. He does not mind. He is wet already. He walks to the rinsing tank. He drops the cloak. Plunge. He repeats this walk many times. Reach, pull, carry, drop. Reach, pull, carry, drop. There is no variation. There is no shortcut. Every piece of clothing must be moved by hand. The pile in the treading stall grows smaller. The rinsing tank grows crowded. When all the clothes are transferred, the rinsing begins. This is a gentler process than the treading. It is not about crushing the dirt out anymore. It is about washing the soap away. It is about purification. The worker stands by the edge of the rinsing tank. The water level is high, almost to the brim. The overflow drain gurgles softly as it swallows the excess water. Gurgle, gurgle. He leans over. He plunges his arms into the cold, fresh water. It shocks him slightly, waking him up, but only for a second. The water numbs his skin. He grabs the floating tunic. He pushes it down. He swirls it around. Swish and swish. He mimics the motion of the river. He agitates the fabric. He lifts it up out of the water, letting gravity pull the dirty water out, and then plunges it back in to suck the clean water in. Lift, splash, dunk, bloop. Lift, splash, dunk, bloop. He watches the water. At first it is milky and gray. The residue of the fuller's earth and the ammonia is releasing. but the pipe keeps pouring fresh water in. Trickle, trickle, trickle. The fresh water enters on the left. The dirty water exits on the right. Slowly, very slowly, the water in the basin begins to clear. It takes time. Nature cannot be rushed. The flow of the water is constant, but it is not fast. It is a gentle turnover. The worker lets go of the tunic. It floats, suspended in the current. It looks like a ghost in the water, its arms swaying gently with the movement of the liquid. He watches it. It is peaceful to watch things float. There is no weight in the water. Everything is light. He moves to the cloak. He grabs the heavy wool. He squeezes it underwater. He kneels on the stone edge of the basin to get better leverage. He leans forward. He squeezes. He releases. He squeezes. He releases. Underwater, his hands look pale and distorted. He watches the bubbles rise from the fabric. Tiny silver spheres that wobble up to the surface and join the foam near the drain. He works silently. The only light comes from the oil lamp, which he has moved to a niche closer to the water. The reflection of the flame dances on the ripples of the rinsing tank. It stretches and breaks, reforms and stretches again. Gold on black water. He stops to rest his back. He stands up and stretches. He looks at the lead pipe. The water falls in a perfect glass-like cylinder before it breaks apart in the basin. He puts his hand under the stream. The water is freezing. It comes from the mountains miles away. It has traveled through dark tunnels and over high arches to get here just to wash a tunic. He cups his hand. He drinks a sip. It tastes of stone and minerals. It is cold and sharp. He wipes his mouth with the back of his wet hand. He returns to the work. He grabs another garment, a smaller tunic. He swishes it back and forth, left, right, like a pendulum. The water is clearer now. The gray cloud has mostly gone down the drain. The wool is beginning to look clean. It is no longer greasy. It feels different in his hands. It feels rougher, cleaner. The fibers are open. He pulls the tunic up. He wrings it out slightly just to test the water dripping from it. The drops fall back into the pool. They are clear. The rinsing is working. But it is not done. It must be perfect. If any ammonia remains, the smell will remain. And no Roman citizen wants to smell of the Fullonica, so he must rinse again and again. He pushes the clothes to the bottom of the tank. He holds them there for a moment, letting the pressure of the deep water force its way into the weave. He counts to 10 in his head. Unus, duo, tres, quatuor. He does not rush the count. Decem, he lets go. The clothes drift up slowly. The room is damp. The moisture hangs in the air. Condensation has formed on the cold water pipe. A single drop forms on the bottom of the metal. It grows heavy. It stretches. It falls. Plip. It hits the stone floor. Another drop forms. It takes a long time. It grows. Plip. The worker focuses on this drop. It is the only clock that matters. The rhythm of the falling condensation. Plip. Plip. He leans back over the basin. He gathers the floating clothes together. He pushes them against the side of the stone tank. He presses hard with his palms. He is squeezing the water out, pressing the fabric against the rock. Squeeze, release. The wool acts like a sponge. It breathes the water. He is thorough. He moves from one garment to the next. He does not skip any. He treats the ragged tunic with the same attention as the fine toga. In the water, they are all just fabric. They are all equal. The sound of the water inlet seems to get louder as the night gets quieter. The town outside is in the deepest part of its sleep, the middle of the night, the time when even the watchmen are drowsy. But the water never sleeps. It flows and flows. The worker's movements have become automatic. He is barely conscious of his own arms. They move on their own. Swish, squeeze, release. Swish, squeeze, release. It is a meditation of motion. He looks down into the depth of the basin. The bottom is lost in shadow. It feels like looking into a deep lake. For a moment, he imagines he is not in the laundry house but by a riverbank in the countryside. But the smell brings him back. The faint, lingering scent of damp wool. He pulls the heavy cloak to the surface one last time. He inspects the water running off it. It is crystal clear. The rinsing is finished for this batch. He does not take them out yet. He lets them float for a minute longer. He enjoys the brief pause between tasks. The water supports the weight. He does not have to hold it. He sits on the edge of the basin. The stone is wet and cold, soaking through his tunic, but he is used to it. He watches the water flow into the drain. A small whirlpool forms above the drain hole, a tiny spinning funnel of water. He throws a small piece of loose thread into the water. He watches it circle the whirlpool, around, around, around. It spins faster as it gets closer to the center. And then zip, it is gone, sucked down into the dark pipes below the city. He takes a breath. The air is cleaner here, near the fresh water. The smell of the ammonia is behind him, back at the vats. Here it smells of rain and stone. He stands up. It is time for the next step. The drying, but first the wringing. The water must be removed. The weight must be lifted again. He reaches for the wooden beam that hangs above the rinsing area. It is a smooth, polished pole used for wringing. But he does not touch it yet. He just looks at it. He measures the height with his eyes. He prepares his mind for the effort. He looks back at the water. It is still flowing. It will always flow. He reaches into the basin. He grabs the first wet, clean tunic. He begins to lift. The worker stands before the rinsing tank. The water surface is slowly calming down after his last movement, but small ripples still bounce off the stone sides, meeting in the center to create tiny, confused waves. The room is filled with the sound of trickling water, a sound that is constant, like the noise of rain on a roof. But here it is contained, echoed by the stone walls. He reaches into the cold water. His hands are pale now, wrinkled from the long immersion. He finds the heavy white toga that has been rinsing. It is a massive amount of fabric. When it is dry, it is light and airy. But now, soaked with water, it is a dead weight. It is an anchor. He grips the edge of the wool. He braces his feet against the base of the tank. He pulls. HNNH. He exhales a sharp breath through his nose. The fabric breaks the surface. Water cascades off the toga. It is not a drip. It is a sheet of water. Swoosh. Splash. It pours back into the tank, churning the surface again. He lifts higher. The toga is long. He has to gather it in bunches, pulling it up hand over hand, folding the wet mass against his chest. He steps back from the tank. He is holding the bundle of wet wool. It drips onto his feet. Splat, splat, splat. The water is cold. He walks slowly across the wet floor to the wringing station. This station is simple. It consists of two sturdy wooden posts driven deep into the ground. Between them is a smooth, horizontal wooden beam, polished by the friction of cloth and rope over many decades. It is dark wood, stained by water and oil. He throws the wet toga over the beam. It lands with a heavy, wet thud. Schluck. The two ends of the toga hang down on either side of the wood. They are uneven. He adjusts them. He pulls the left side down. He pulls the right side down. He wants the weight to be balanced. Now begins the wringing. He cannot just squeeze this with his hands. It is too thick. It is too much wool. He needs leverage. He takes the two hanging ends of the toga. He gathers them together in his hands, twisting them slightly to make a rope of fabric. He ties them loosely near the bottom. Now the toga forms a loop over the beam. He picks up a short, stout stick from the floor. It is a torsion stick. He inserts it into the loop of the fabric between the two hanging sides. He begins to turn the stick. He walks in a small semicircle around the hanging fabric. Turn. The wool tightens. Turn. The fabric begins to spiral. The weave compresses. Turn. The water has nowhere to go. The space between the fibers is shrinking. The water is forced out. Watch the water appear. First, it is just a sheen on the surface of the wool. The fabric looks glossy in the lamplight. Then beads form. Tiny, clear jewels of water sitting on the rough wool. Then the beads join together. They become streams. The worker turns the stick again. He uses his shoulder to push it. The resistance increases. The wool groans. A low, creaking sound of fabric under tension. Creak. And then the rain falls. The water bursts from the twisted wool. It pours down onto the stone floor. Splash. It sounds like a bucket being emptied. The puddle on the floor widens, reflecting the flickering oil lamp. He holds the tension. He leans against the stick. He pauses. He lets gravity do the work. The water runs down the spiral of the twisted toga, finding the path of least resistance, dripping off the lowest point. Drip, 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 drip. He waits. He watches a single line of water running down the fabric. It moves quickly at first, then slows down as the bulk of the water leaves. He pushes the stick again. Just a quarter turn this time. Creak. More water squeezes out. Splat, splat. He holds it. His muscles are tight, but his face is blank. This is just physics, force, and water. He looks at the floor. The water is running towards the drain channel. He watches a small piece of straw being carried by the tiny river on the floor. It floats along, gets stuck on a rough stone, spins around, and then floats free again. He watches it until it disappears into the grate. The flow of water from the toga slows to a trickle, then to distinct drops, plip, plip, plip. It is wrung out. It is not dry. It is damp, clammy, and cool, but it is no longer dripping. He slowly releases the tension on the stick. The stick spins back slightly as the fabric untwists. Whir. He controls it with his hand so it doesn't spin too fast. He pulls the stick out. He unties the loose knot at the bottom. He pulls the toga off the beam. It feels lighter now. It is still heavy, but the crushing weight of the water is gone. The wool is crinkled, textured with the memory of the twist. That does not matter. The finishing press will smooth it later. For now, the goal is just to remove the moisture. He carries the damp bundle to a large wicker basket. He places it inside. Softly, flump. He goes back to the rinsing tank. He repeats the process. He lifts a cloak. He carries it. Slap, slap of wet feet on stone. He throws it over the beam. Thud. He inserts the stick. He turns. Creak. Splash. The repetition is absolute. There is no variation in the technique. The only difference is the sound the fabric makes. The cloak is thicker, so the water comes out more slowly, with less of a splash and more of a steady stream. Turn, hold, wait, drip. The worker's mind is quiet. He is not thinking about his home. He is not thinking about his dinner. He is entirely focused on the tension of the wood against the wool. He knows exactly how much pressure to apply. Too much, and he might damage the fibers. Too little, and the drying will take too long. He stays in the perfect middle ground. He works through the pile. One by one, the garments move from the tank to the beam to the basket. The pile in the basket grows, a mountain of damp, clean wool. The smell in the room has changed again. The sharp ammonia is gone. The smell of the earth is gone. Now it smells only of wet sheep and clean water. It is a neutral, flat scent. When the last tunic is wrung out, the worker stops. He puts the torsion stick back in its place on the floor. He wipes his hands on his tunic. He looks at the puddle on the floor beneath the beam. It is large. He takes a broom made of twigs, a scopy, and slowly sweeps the standing water toward the drain. Swish-scratch, swish-scratch. The sound of the twigs against the wet stone is harsh but rhythmic. He pushes the water. The water obeys. He clears the floor until it is just damp, not flooded. He picks up the large wicker basket. It is heavy with the damp clothes. He lifts it with a grunt. He carries it to the next room. This room is the drying chamber. It is different. It is warmer here. The air is drier. The walls are stained a faint yellow. In the center of the room there are several strange objects. They look like large beehives or bells made of woven wood. These are the Viminia cavia, wicker frames. They are constructed of flexible willow branches, woven into a dome shape. They are about chest high. They are hollow underneath. The worker sets the basket down. Thump. He walks to the nearest wicker frame. He inspects it. He runs his hand over the woven willow. He checks for any broken twigs that might snag the expensive cloth. The wood is smooth, polished by years of use. It is a sturdy structure designed to let air flow through. He returns to the basket. He pulls out the white toga. The damp wool is cool in his hands. He begins the process of draping. This is a slow and careful task. He cannot just throw the toga on the frame. If he does, it will dry unevenly. It will be wrinkled. He finds the center of the toga. He lifts it high. He places the center point over the top of the dome. Rustle, slide. The fabric slides down the sides of the wicker bell. He walks around the frame. He pulls the hem of the toga. He straightens the fabric. He wants it to hang smoothly. He wants the air to be able to reach every inch. He lifts a fold of the toga and spreads it out. He tucks a corner under a willow branch to hold it in place. He steps back. He looks. It is crooked. He steps forward again. He pulls the left side down 1 inch. He smooths a wrinkle with the palm of his hand. Brush, brush. The sound of his hand on the damp wool is soft, like a whisper. He moves to the other side. He adjusts the back. The toga covers the wicker frame completely. Now the frame looks like a ghost standing in the room, a headless white figure. He checks the bottom hem. It should not touch the floor. If it touches the floor, it will pick up dust. He checks. It is hovering 2 inches above the stone. It is perfect. He goes back to the basket. He picks up a tunic. He moves to a smaller wicker frame. He drapes the tunic over it. He adjusts the sleeves. He pulls them out so they hang straight. He makes sure the armpits are open to the air. This is where the fabric is thickest. This is where it needs to dry. He smooths the front. He smooths the back. The room is filling up with these white, ghostly shapes. One by one, the wicker frames are covered. The brown cloaks go on the larger frames in the back. The white tunics go in the front. The worker moves quietly between the frames. He is like a gardener tending to silent white bushes. He touches the fabric tenderly. He is respectful of the wool. It is the livelihood of the city. It is the skin of the people. He stops at a frame holding a large cloak. There is a crease near the neck. He doesn't like it. He works at it with his thumb and forefinger. He massages the damp wool. He rubs it until the fibers relax and the crease disappears. He steps back. He surveys his work. The drying room is full. The basket is empty. The clothes are hanging. They are motionless. There is no breeze in here. The air is still. But the process is not just about air. If they dry like this, they will be clean, but they will not be bright. The Romans love whiteness. They want their togas to shine. To achieve this, there is one more step for the night: the bleaching. The worker walks to a shelf in the corner. He picks up a small, heavy pot. It is made of iron. It is old and crusted with a yellow substance. He carries it to the center of the room, placing it on the floor underneath the largest wicker frame, the one holding the white toga. He slides the pot under the hem of the toga, into the hollow space inside the wicker dome. He stands up and walks back to the shelf. He picks up a leather pouch. He opens it. Inside are chunks of a yellow stone, sulfur. He takes a piece of sulfur. It feels chalky and light in his hand. It has no smell yet. The smell only comes with the fire. He walks back to the toga. He crouches down. He reaches under the hem of the hanging fabric. He places the sulfur chunk into the iron pot. He adds another piece, and another. He arranges them in a small pyramid. He does not light it yet. He prepares the other pots. He moves to the next frame. He places a pot. He adds the sulfur. Clink, clink. The sound of the stone hitting the iron is sharp in the quiet room. He moves to the next. Pot, sulfur, clink. He repeats this for all the white garments. The colored cloaks do not need sulfur, only the whites. He stands in the middle of the room. He is surrounded by the draped figures. The oil lamp in his hand casts long, strange shadows. The shadows of the wicker frames look like cages projected onto the walls. The shadows of the hanging clothes look like mountains. He is preparing to create the smoke that whitens, the paradox of the Fullonica, using urine to clean and smoke to bleach. He checks the windows. They are small slits high up near the ceiling. They are open. That is good. The smoke needs to escape slowly, but not too slowly. He does not want to suffocate. He walks to the door of the drying room. He checks the latch. It is working. He will need to close this door tightly once the sulfur is burning. He returns to the first frame, the white toga. He crouches down again. He sets the oil lamp on the floor next to him. He reaches for a small bundle of dry kindling he keeps in his belt. Tiny twigs, dry as bone. He places them under the sulfur pyramid in the iron pot. He picks up the lamp. He tilts it. The flame licks at the dry twigs. They catch fire instantly. Crackle. A small, bright flame appears inside the dark tent of the toga. The worker watches it for a second. He ensures the twigs are burning well. Then, the flame touches the yellow sulfur. The sulfur begins to melt. It turns a deep blood red as it melts, then it catches a blue flame. A low blue ghostly light. And then the smoke begins. It is a thin white smoke, pungent, sharp. It rises immediately. It hits the damp wool hanging above it. The wool captures the smoke. The sulfur dioxide begins to bleach the fabric, attacking the yellow stains that water could not remove. The worker pulls his hand back. He stands up quickly. He does not want to breathe this. He moves to the next frame. Crouch, tilt lamp, crackle, blue flame, smoke, stand up. He moves efficiently now. He cannot linger. The air in the room is starting to change. A tickle in the throat, a sharp scent. He lights the third pot. He lights the fourth. The room is filling with a low, blue glow from beneath the clothes. The white togas seem to be glowing from the inside. They look ethereal, illuminated by the chemical fire below. The smoke is rising. It is invisible at first, but soon it will fill the room. The worker backs away. He walks backwards toward the door, watching the fires to make sure none of the clothes catch. He only wants the smoke, not the heat. The pots are low. The frames are high. It is safe. He reaches the heavy wooden door. He steps out into the hallway. He grips the iron handle. He pulls the door shut. Thud, click. He seals the room. Inside, in the dark, the blue fires are burning. The smoke is swirling. The togas are drinking the fumes. They are becoming white. They are becoming pure. The worker stands in the hall. He takes a deep breath of the fresh, cool night air. He coughs once, clearing the faint taste of sulfur from his lungs. He is done with the wet work. He is done with the heavy work, but the night is not over. There is the guarding, there is the waiting, and there is the pressing of the dry clothes from yesterday. He picks up his lamp. He walks down the corridor. His shadow follows him, long and thin. The sound of his bare feet on the stone is the only noise left in the world. Pad, pad, pads. He heads toward the pressing room. The corridor is long and narrow. The worker walks slowly. His bare feet make no sound on the smooth stones of this section. The air here is different. It is not damp like the washing room. It is not sharp like the sulfur room. It is dry. It smells of old wood and dust. It smells of rest. He reaches the entrance to the pressing room. There is no door here, just a wide archway. He steps through. The room is dominated by shadows. In the center, rising up towards the ceiling, stands the prelum, the press. It is a massive machine built of dark, seasoned oak. It looks like a giant doorway blocked by a heavy wooden wall. It consists of two thick vertical beams, a fixed base, and a heavy movable beam that slides up and down. Through the center of the top beam runs a thick wooden screw, carved by hand, greased with animal fat. It is a silent giant. It waits in the dark. The worker places his oil lamp on a high shelf. The light falls across the machine, highlighting the grain of the wood. The oak is black with age. It shines dully where thousands of hands have touched it. On a table to the side there is a stack of clothes. These are not the wet clothes from tonight. These are the clothes from yesterday or perhaps the day before. They have been washed. They have been bleached. They have hung in the drying room until every drop of moisture has evaporated. Now they are dry, but they are stiff. They are wrinkled from the wringing. They are rough to the touch. The worker walks to the table. He runs his hand over the stack. Scritch. The sound of dry wool is different. It is a crisp sound. He picks up the top garment. It is a tunic, a simple one, perhaps belonging to a merchant. It is clean. It smells faintly of sulfur, a clean, sterile smell, but mostly it smells of nothing. He lays the tunic out on the table. The wood of the table is smooth, polished by the friction of fabric. He spreads the tunic wide. Swish. He begins the inspection. He looks for any wrinkles that have set into the fabric during drying. There is a large crease running down the front. He presses his palm against it. He rubs back and forth. Rub, rub, rub. The heat of his hand warms the wool slightly. The fibers relax. The crease softens, but it does not disappear. That is what the press is for. He begins to fold the tunic. This is a precise art. If he folds it wrong, the press will stamp a permanent crease in the wrong place. It must be perfect. He takes the right sleeve. He folds it across the body of the tunic. He aligns the hem of the sleeve with the side seam of the tunic. He checks the alignment. He adjusts it by a fraction of an inch. He smooths the fold with his thumb, from the shoulder down to the cuff. One long, slow stroke. He takes the left sleeve. He folds it over. He crosses the first sleeve. He smooths it down. Brush. Now the tunic is a rectangle. He folds the bottom hem up. Once. He smooths it. He folds it again. Twice. He smooths it. Now the tunic is a neat, compact square. It is ready. He carries the folded square to the press. The base of the press is a heavy block of stone covered with a smooth wooden board. This is the bed. He places the folded tunic on the bed. He centers it. He steps back to look. It is slightly to the left. He nudges it. Now it is centered. He picks up a thin, polished wooden board from a stack leaning against the wall. This is a pressing board. He places it on top of the folded tunic. Clack. The sound of wood on wool. He returns to the table. He picks up the next garment, a toga. This takes longer to fold. It is yards of material. He has to walk back and forth along the table to spread it out. Unroll, walk, unroll, walk. The fabric settles on the table like a gentle wave. He finds the straight edge. He begins to pleat it, fold over, press down, fold back, press down. He creates a stack of pleats. He gathers the heavy wool. He folds the bundle in half. He carries it to the press. He places it on top of the wooden board that covers the first tunic. He places another wooden board on top of the toga. He repeats this process. Fold, smooth, place, board. Fold, smooth, place, board. The stack in the press grows higher. It becomes a tower of wool and wood, a sandwich of layers. The alternating colors of the wood and the fabric create a striped pattern in the dim light. Brown, white, brown, gray, brown. When the stack is high enough, almost reaching the movable beam, he stops. The table is empty. The press is full. Now the force must be applied. The worker looks at the large wooden screw. Through the head of the screw there is a hole. Through the hole, a long wooden handle is inserted, the capstan bar. This is the lever. He grips the handle with both hands. The wood is smooth and warm from the air of the room. He plants his feet firmly on the stone floor. He takes a breath. He pushes. Groan, the machine wakes up. The large wooden screw begins to turn. The sound is deep and resonant. It is the sound of heavy timber rubbing against heavy timber. It is a slow, creaking complaint. The heavy upper beam begins to descend, slowly, imperceptibly at first. He walks in a circle, pushing the bar in front of him. Step, push, step, push. The screw turns, a creak, creak. The beam touches the top board of the stack. Contact. Now the resistance begins. The wool pushes back. The worker has to push harder. He leans his shoulder into the bar. He drives with his legs. Grunt. The beam presses down. The layers of wool compress. The air is squeezed out of the folds. The tower of clothes shrinks by an inch. He keeps pushing. Another half turn. Grow on. The sound echoes in the quiet room. It sounds like a ship settling in the water. He stops. He wipes his forehead. He looks at the stack. It is under tension. The clothes are being flattened. The fibers are being crushed into alignment. The wrinkles are being erased by the sheer weight of the oak. But it is not tight enough yet. He adjusts his grip. He prepares for the final tightening. He pushes again. This time the screw barely moves. It turns by millimeters. Irk. A high-pitched squeak from the grease. He holds the pressure. He feels the tension in the wood vibrating through his hands. The machine is alive with stored energy. He gives it one last shove. Thump. He hits the bar with the palm of his hand to lock it in place. It is done. The press is set. He steps back. He breathes heavily for a moment, the only fast rhythm in the room. Then his breathing slows. He returns to the calm. He looks at the machine. It is holding the clothes in a tight embrace. They will stay there for hours, maybe until the morning. Time and pressure will do the rest. He does not need to touch them again. The dust motes in the room are dancing in the light of the oil lamp. He watches them. They float in the air, disturbed by his movement, now settling back down. They drift slowly, aimlessly. One lands on the arm of the press. Another lands on the floor. The worker walks to the small window slit in the wall. He looks out. It is pitch black. The night is at its deepest. There is no moon visible from this angle, just the dark stone of the building across the alley. He turns back to the room. It is tidy. The table is bare. The press is working silently. There is a sense of completion here. The chaos of the dirty clothes has been ordered. The mess has been cleaned. The wrinkles have been smoothed. He picks up a rag from the table. He idly wipes a spot of grease from the frame of the press. He does not need to do this. It is just a habit, a way to stay busy without working. Wipe, wipe. He looks at the wood. It is clean. He sits down on a stool in the corner. He leans his back against the cool wall. He stretches his legs out in front of him. His feet are tired. The soles are tender from the treading from the cold stone. He wiggles his toes. He listens. Occasionally, the press makes a sound, a sudden talk as the wood settles, or a faint creak as the wool compresses further. These are the sounds of the room working on its own. Talk, silence, and creak. The worker closes his eyes for a second. The image of the spinning screw is still in his mind. The spiral, round and round, down and down. He opens his eyes. The lamp is still burning. The oil is getting lower. He will need to refill it soon, but not yet. He looks at his hands. They are dry now. The skin is rough. He rubs his thumb over his fingertips. He feels the texture of his own skin. There is nothing left to do in this room. The press has the clothes. The sulfur has the togas. The vats have the tunics. The entire Fullonica is engaged in a slow, chemical, physical process of cleaning. The human is just the starter. The process is the engine. He stands up slowly. The stool scrapes lightly on the floor. Scrape. He picks up the lamp. He moves towards the archway. He casts one last look at the press. It stands rigid, powerful, and still, a monument to boredom and utility. He steps out into the corridor. The light travels with him, leaving the pressing room in darkness. In the dark, the screw holds its grip. In the dark, the clothes become smooth. He walks back towards the courtyard. He has to check the vats again. It has been hours. The soaking must be monitored. The cycle is a circle. It never truly ends. His shadow stretches out in front of him, reaching for the next task. Pads. He walks. The worker returns to the main courtyard. The atrium is darker now than when he left it. The moon has risen higher, moving out of sight above the roof opening, leaving the interior in deep shadow. The only light comes from the single oil lamp he carries in his hand. The flame is a small, warm island in a sea of cool darkness. He places the lamp back on the low wooden bench. The wood is warm where the lamp sat before. It remembers the heat. He walks over to the large soaking vats. He needs to check the progress. It has been hours since he first submerged the tunics. The chemistry of the ammonia requires time, but it also requires agitation. The dirt must be coaxed out. It does not leave willingly. He picks up the long wooden pole again. It is leaning against the wall exactly where he left it. He grips the smooth wood. His hands know the texture of this specific branch. There is a knot in the wood about halfway up. His thumb finds it automatically. He approaches the first vat. The liquid is black and still. It looks like a solid surface, like a disc of black glass. There is no movement. The clothes are sleeping at the bottom. He breaks the surface with the pole. Glup. The sound is hollow. The glass shatters into ripples. He pushes the pole down until he feels the soft resistance of the wool at the bottom. He begins to stir. Slowly, round and round. He moves the clothes gently. He does not want to tear them. He just wants to remind the liquid to move. He wants to ensure that the ammonia touches every fiber. Swish and swish and swish. The smell rises again. It is familiar. It is the smell of the trade. It is the smell of Rome's cleanliness. Without this smell, there would be no white togas in the forum. There would be no bright tunics at the dinner parties. This silent, smelly work in the dark makes the brightness of the day possible. He stirs for a long time. He watches the liquid swirl. A small vortex forms in the center, spinning slowly, dragging a few bubbles down into the depths. He reverses the direction. He stirs the other way. The liquid resists for a moment, then complies. A swish and swish. He stops. He lifts the pole. He lets the liquid drip off the end. Drip, drip, drip. He waits for the last drop. It hangs on the end of the wood, defying gravity for a second, then falls. Plip. He moves to the next vat. The white vat, he stirs. The resistance here is different. The togas are finer, lighter. They float more easily. He has to push them down. Use the pole to press them against the bottom. Press. Release, press, release. He works his way down the line of jars. There is no hurry. The night is static. It feels as if the sun will never rise again. It feels as if the world consists only of this room, this pole, and these pots. When he is finished stirring, he leans the pole back against the wall. Clack. He stands in the center of the courtyard. He listens. He is listening for the city. It is silent. But there is a task that must be done outside, a task that belongs to the night. He walks towards the front entrance of the Fullonica. The entrance is blocked by a heavy wooden door. It is barred from the inside to prevent thieves, though no thief would want to steal wet, smelly wool. He reaches for the crossbar. It is a thick beam of oak. He lifts it. It is heavy. He grunts softly. HMPH. He slides the wood to the side into its niche in the masonry. Scrape. The sound of wood on stone is rough. He grips the iron ring of the door handle. The metal is cold. He pulls. The hinges are old. They are well oiled, but they still complain. Kriaak. The door opens inwards. The street outside is empty. It is a narrow Roman street, paved with large polygonal stones. The stones are uneven, worn smooth by cart wheels and sandals. The moonlight hits the street at an angle, illuminating the edges of the stones, creating a pattern of light and shadow on the ground. There is no one there. No carts, no soldiers, no beggars, just the stone walls of the buildings rising up on either side, shutting out the sky. To the left of the door, built into the wall of the laundry, is a large terracotta pot. It is an amphora with the top cut off. It sits there, open to the street. This is the collection jar. It is placed there for the public. It is a convenience for the passerby and a resource for the laundry. Urine is precious. It contains the ammonia needed for cleaning. The owner of the laundry provides the pot. The citizens provide the liquid. It is a silent exchange. The worker steps out onto the street. The air is fresher here, though still stagnant with the smells of a city that lacks modern drainage. He approaches the pot. He looks inside. The moonlight reflects off the surface of the liquid. It is nearly full. The day has been busy. Many people have passed by. Many have contributed. He needs to bring this in. He cannot leave it full. It must be emptied into the fermentation cisterns so it can age. Fresh urine is useless for cleaning. It must sit. It must wait. He bends down. He grips the handles of the heavy clay pot. He tests the weight. It is very heavy. Liquid is dense. He prepares his back. He plants his feet wide on the paving stones. He takes a deep breath. He lifts. Huog. He does not lift it high. He keeps it low, shuffling backwards into the doorway of the laundry. His sandals scrape on the threshold. He brings the pot inside. He sets it down. Thump. The liquid sloshes dangerously close to the rim but does not spill. Slosh slap. He goes back to the door. He looks up and down the street one last time. A cat runs across the road, a shadow detaching itself from the darkness and disappearing into another shadow. That is all. He grabs the heavy door. He pushes it shut. Thud. He slides the wooden bar back into place. Scragape. Thunk. The world is locked out again. The silence of the interior returns. Now he must empty the collection pot. He walks to the corner of the courtyard where the fermentation cistern is located. This is a large, covered tank sunken into the ground. It is the bank vault of the laundry. He removes the wooden lid of the cistern. The smell that escapes is powerful. It is the concentrated essence of the business. He does not flinch. He breathes shallowly. He returns to the pot he brought in. He cannot pour it directly, it is too heavy. He needs a ladle or a smaller bucket. He finds a bronze bucket nearby. He dips it into the clay pot. Dip. The bucket fills. He carries it to the cistern. He pours, sploosh. The sound of liquid hitting liquid. It echoes in the hollow space of the underground tank. He repeats this, dip, carry, pour. Dip, carry, pour. He is moving the liquid from a small container to a large container. It is a transfer of matter. It is a simple equation. The level in the pot goes down. The level in the cistern goes up. He watches the stream of liquid as he pours. It looks like oil in the dim light. Smooth, continuous. He finds a piece of debris in the pot, a leaf that must have blown in from the street. He picks it out with his fingers and flicks it into a waste pile. The liquid must be pure. When the clay pot is empty, he lifts it. It is light now. He carries it back to the entrance. He leaves it just inside the door. He will put it back out on the street in the morning before the city wakes up. For now, it rests. He returns to the cistern. He replaces the wooden lid. He ensures it fits snugly. He taps it with his foot to seal it. Tap. He wipes his hands on his rag. He feels a thirst. The air is dry and the work is salty. He walks to the fresh water basin, the one used for drinking, not washing. There is a clay cup sitting on the rim. He dips the cup. The water is cool. He lifts it to his lips. He drinks slowly. He tastes the water. It is clean. It washes away the taste of the air. He drinks the whole cup. He places the cup back down. Click. He leans against a stone pillar. He looks around his domain. The drying room is sealed. The press is tight. The vats are soaking. The cistern is full. There is a period of waiting now. The work cannot be forced. The chemical reactions need time. The drying needs time. The pressing needs time. He slides down the pillar until he is sitting on the floor. The stone is cold, but the earth beneath it holds a faint warmth. He pulls his knees up to his chest. He wraps his arms around his shins. He rests his chin on his knees. He stares at the flame of the oil lamp across the room. It flickers. A draft must be coming from somewhere, maybe a crack in the roof tiles. He watches the flame dance. Left, right, tall, short. He tries to predict the movement of the flame. Left, left, right. It is random. It is mesmerizing. His eyelids feel heavy, but he cannot sleep. He is on duty. He must watch the fire in the sulfur room. Even though it is behind a closed door, he must be aware. He must watch the shop. He starts to count the tiles on the floor in front of him. 1, 2, 3. They are diamond-shaped terracotta tiles. Some are chipped. 4, 5, 6. This one has a crack running through the middle. 7, 8. He counts them again. He traces the grout lines with his eyes. The grout is gray and sandy. It creates a grid, a cage for the tiles. The silence is so deep he can hear the blood rushing in his own ears. A low whoosh, whoosh sound. It is the sound of his own life. A small beetle crawls out from under the wooden bench. It is black and shiny. It moves slowly, tentatively. It stops. It waves its antennae, tasting the air. The worker watches the beetle. It moves forward 3 inches. It stops again. It turns left. It moves towards the wall. The worker does not move. He does not want to scare it. It is the only other living thing awake in this room. The beetle reaches the wall and begins to climb. It struggles on the smooth plaster. It slips. It falls back to the floor. Tick, It tries again, it slips, it falls. Tick. It gives up on the wall and scurries away into the darkness behind the vats. The worker is alone again. He closes his eyes. He visualizes the clothes in the press. He imagines the fibers of the wool being crushed flat. He imagines the molecules of water being squeezed out, evaporating into the dry air of the pressing room. He imagines the sulfur smoke swirling around the togas, turning the yellow to white. It is all happening silently, invisible work. He stretches his legs out. His joints pop, crack. He rubs his calf muscle. It is tight from the treading. He massages the knot in the muscle. Rub, press, rub. He looks at his hands. They are stained. The ammonia and the dye and the dirt have worked their way into his skin. His hands are the tools of his trade. They are rough, swollen, and strong. They are honest hands. He decides to check the sulfur room one more time, just to be sure. He stands up. He picks up the lamp. He walks to the heavy door. He does not open it. If he opens it, the smoke will escape. He just touches the wood. The door is warm, not hot, just warm. He puts his ear against the wood. He listens. He can hear the faint crackle of the dry twigs, or perhaps it is just his imagination. Crackle. He smells the air near the crack of the door. A faint whiff of brimstone. It is contained. It is safe. He walks back to the courtyard. He places the lamp on the floor this time. He lies down on the bench. It is hard wood, uncomfortable but better than the stone floor. He stares up at the darkness of the ceiling. He waits. He waits for the moon to move. He waits for the ammonia to work. He waits for the dawn, which is still hours away. The rhythm of the night is slow, slower than the river, slower than the breath. It is the rhythm of stone. The worker sits up on the wooden bench. The brief rest is over. He cannot sleep, not truly. The responsibility of the night watch sits on him like a heavy cloak. If a fire starts in the sulfur room or if a vat leaks, he must be there. So to keep his mind awake but his body still, he turns to the smallest task of all. Mending. Earlier in the evening, during the sorting, he had set aside a tunic. It was the one with the frayed hole near the hem. It had been washed, but it could not be returned to the customer in this state. A fuller's job is not just to clean, it is to restore. He reaches for a small wooden box kept on a shelf near the floor. It is a simple box made of beech wood with a sliding lid. He pulls the lid back. Slide. Inside, there are the tools of repair. He takes out a needle. It is made of bronze. It is about 3 inches long, slightly tarnished by time and the oils of many hands. It is not sharp like a modern steel needle. It is blunt by comparison, but it is strong. It feels cool and solid in his fingers. He takes out a spool of thread. It is linen thread, unbleached, a natural creamy color. It is rougher than the thread used for the fine togas, but strong enough for a worker's tunic. He places the box on the bench. He picks up the damaged tunic from the repair pile. He spreads the fabric across his knees. He finds the hole. It is a jagged tear, shaped like a small letter L. Perhaps the wearer caught it on a nail or a sharp corner of a cart. The edges are fuzzy where the wool fibers have come undone. The worker brings the oil lamp closer. He needs the light. The flame is steady now, a small tongue of fire that illuminates his hands and the patch of gray wool on his lap. The rest of the room falls away into darkness. There is only this small circle of existence. He begins to prepare the thread. He unwinds a length from the wooden spool. ZZZZT. The sound of the thread leaving the spool is faint. He measures a length equal to his arm. He holds the spool in one hand and the end of the thread in the other. He pulls. Snap. He breaks the thread. The end is frayed. He brings the thread to his mouth. He wets the end with his lips to bind the fibers together, making it sharp enough to pass through the eye of the needle. Now the challenge of focus. He holds the needle in his left hand. He holds the thread in his right. He squints. The eye of the bronze needle is small. The light is dim. He brings them together. He misses. The thread bends against the metal. He tries again. He straightens the thread. He steadies his hand. He breathes out and holds his breath. He pushes the thread. It passes through. He sees the tiny tip of the linen emerge on the other side of the bronze eye. He grabs it with his thumb and forefinger. He pulls it through. He ties a knot at the long end of the thread. He rolls the thread between his thumb and index finger, twisting it, then loops it and pulls. Tighten. A small, hard knot forms. It is a perfect stopper. He turns the tunic inside out. He needs to work from the back. He flattens the area around the tier. He uses his fingers to press the frayed edges together, trying to make the fabric look whole again. He pushes the needle into the fabric. Pop. A tiny sound as the bronze pierces the dense wool. He pulls the needle through. He pulls the long tail of the thread. Swish. He pulls until the knot hits the fabric. It holds. He pushes the needle back down. Pop. He pulls. Swish. He is doing a simple running stitch. Up and down, up and down. He is sewing the edges of the tier together. Stitch, pull, pull. The motion is hypnotic. His hand moves in a small arc. The shadow of his hand moves on the wall, a giant, distorted shape mimicking his tiny movements. The room is absolutely silent. There is no wind outside. There is no water running near him. The rinsing tanks are in the other room. There is only the sound of the thread against the wool. FFFT, FFFT. He focuses entirely on the gap between the stitches. They must be even. If they are too far apart, the hole will open again. If they are too close, the fabric will bunch up. He aims for perfection in this small, invisible thing. He reaches the corner of the L shape. He has to turn the fabric. He pivots the tunic on his knee. He adjusts his grip. He continues along the second line of the tier. He watches the dust motes dancing near the needle. Every time he pulls the thread, a microscopic cloud of wool dust is released into the air. He thinks about the person who owns this tunic. He does not know them. It is just a garment. But for a moment his life intersects with theirs through this needle. He is fixing their mistake. He is closing their wound. The thread is getting shorter. He has used half the length. Stitch, pull, stitch, pull. He stops to rub his eyes. The strain of looking at such small work in low light is tiring. He presses the heels of his hands into his eye sockets. He sees stars and patterns of light behind his eyelids. He takes a deep breath. He opens his eyes. The world is back. The tunic is waiting. He resumes. He is nearing the end of the tier. The gap is closed. The fabric is pulled together. It looks like a scar now, a thin raised line of linen thread against the gray wool. He makes the final stitch. He loops the thread around the needle twice to create a locking knot. He pulls the needle through the loop. Tighten. The knot slides down to the surface of the fabric. It locks. He brings the thread to his mouth again. He bites it. Snip. The thread is cut. He pulls the loose piece away. He puts the needle down on the bench. He turns the tunic right side out. He inspects his work. From the outside, you can barely see the repair. The stitches are small and tight. The wool has been pulled together neatly. It is strong. It will hold. He smooths the patch with his thumb. The heat of his skin presses the fibers down. Rub, rub. He folds the mended tunic. He places it on the finished pile, one task down. He looks at the needle. It is sitting on the wood, reflecting the lamp light. It looks lonely. He picks it up. He puts it back in the wooden box. He puts the spool of thread back in the box. He slides the lid shut. Slide, click. He checks the oil lamp. The flame is getting smaller. The level of olive oil in the reservoir is low. The wick is consuming the last dregs. If he doesn't refill it, he will be in the dark. He stands up. He walks to a large clay amphora stored in the corner. This jar holds the lamp oil. It is low-grade olive oil, thick and green, not fit for eating but perfect for burning. He picks up a small pouring vessel. He tilts the heavy amphora. Gurgle. The oil flows slowly. It is viscous. It pours like honey. He fills the small vessel. He walks back to the lamp. He blows out the flame. Huff. The room plunges into total darkness. For a moment, he is blind. The afterimage of the flame floats in his vision. He pours the oil into the lamp in the dark. He knows exactly where the hole is. He listens to the sound of the oil filling the small chamber. When the pitch of the pouring sound changes, he stops. He knows it is full. He feels for the flint and steel on the bench. Clack, a spark, clack, another spark. It lands on the charred wick. A tiny ember glows red. He blows on it gently. Woo! The flame catches, it grows, it stabilizes. The light returns. The room is the same as it was before. The shadows jump back to their places on the walls. He sits back down. The refilling of the lamp was the most excitement he has had in an hour. Now the calm returns. He looks at his hands. There is a small indentation on his fingertip where he pushed the needle. He rubs it. The skin is tough. It fades quickly. He leans back against the wall. The rough plaster scratches his shoulder blade through his tunic. He shifts to find a smoother spot. He listens to the silence again. It has a texture. It feels heavy like a blanket. He hears a drop of water fall in the distance. Plip. It must be from the rinsing room. A single drop that escaped the drain. He closes his eyes. He imagines the drop falling. He imagines the ripples it makes. He waits for the next one. He waits. He waits. There is no next drop, just the one. He opens his eyes. He looks at the ceiling beams. They are made of dark wood crisscrossing the space. A spider is building a web between two beams. He watches the spider. It lowers itself on a thread. Down, down, down. It stops in midair. It hangs there, suspended in the void. It climbs back up. Up, up, up. The worker watches this small drama. It is slow. It is silent. It is nature working in the dark, just like the ammonia in the vats. He feels a heaviness in his legs. The treading from earlier has left a dull ache in his muscles. It is a good ache, the ache of work done. He extends his legs and crosses his ankles. He wonders what time it is. There is no clock. He cannot see the stars. He can only guess by the feeling of the air. The air is at its coldest. The dampness is at its peak. It must be the hour before the false dawn, the deepest part of the night. Galicinium, the time when the rooster has not yet crowed, but the silence is absolute. He decides to check the drying room door again, just to be safe. He stands up. He walks the familiar path. Pat, pat, pat. He reaches the door. He touches the wood. Still warm. He smells the crack, still sulfurous. It is fine. He walks back. He stops at the soaking vats. He looks into the black liquid. Nothing has moved. The tunics are still submerged. The bubbles have all popped. The surface is a mirror. He sees his own face reflected in the dark urine. It is a dim, ghostly reflection. He looks tired. His eyes are dark hollows. He stares at himself for a long moment. Man and reflection, worker and liquid. He turns away. He breaks the connection. He goes back to the bench. He sits. He picks up a small stone from the floor, a pebble that came in with the sandals. He rolls it between his fingers. It is smooth. It is cold. He transfers it from his left hand to his right hand. Left, right, left, right. This is the only movement in the room, the passing of a pebble. He places the pebble on the bench next to the lamp. He aligns it with the edge of the wood. It must be straight. He nudges it. There. He sighs, a long, shallow sigh that barely disturbs the air. He rests his hands on his knees. He waits. The worker sits on the wooden bench, his back against the wall. The silence of the Fullonica is now a physical weight. It presses against the ears. It is the kind of silence that usually exists only deep underground. The city of Rome, usually so noisy, so chaotic, has finally ceased its breathing. There are no carts, no shouts, no barking dogs. Even the wind has died down outside. Inside, the flame of the oil lamp is the only thing that moves. It stands straight up, a small spear of yellow light, burning the cheap oil with a steady determination. The worker looks at his hands. They are idle. He is not used to idleness. His hands are designed for gripping, scrubbing, lifting, and wringing. To have them empty feels strange. He needs a small task, something to bridge the gap between now and the dawn. He looks down at the floor near the treading stalls. There is a wooden scoop lying there. It was the scoop he used to sprinkle the fuller's earth, the clay powder, onto the wet wool. He had left it there in his fatigue. He stands up slowly. His knees crack, pop. The sound is loud in the quiet room. He walks over to the scoop. He picks it up. It is a simple tool carved from a single piece of ash wood. It has a short handle and a wide, shallow bowl. It is light, but it is dirty. The wet clay from his hands and the dust from the sack have formed a crust on the handle. It is dried now, a gray, flaky residue. He carries the scoop back to the bench. He sits down. He brings the lamp closer. He begins to clean the tool. He uses his thumbnail. He finds the edge of a patch of dried clay on the handle. He pushes. Chip. A small flake of gray mud falls off. It lands on the floor. He pushes again. Chip. Another flake. He works his way down the handle. It is slow work. The clay is stuck deep in the grain of the wood. He has to be patient. He scrapes gently. Scritch. Scritch. He focuses on the texture of the wood beneath the dirt. It is smooth, polished by years of sweat and oil. It is a dark, honey color. As he reveals the wood, it shines dully in the lamplight. He turns the scoop over. The back of the bowl has a layer of dust. He rubs it with the ball of his thumb. Rub, rub. The dust rolls up into tiny gray cylinders and falls away. He cleans the rim of the scoop. There is a small dent in the wood here, a memory of some past impact against a stone wall. He cleans the dent out carefully. He blows on it. Pfffff. A tiny cloud of dust flies into the air and disappears. This is not essential work. The scoop would work just fine if it were dirty. But it is something to do. It is a meditation. It is a way to care for the tools that feed him. When the scoop is clean, he wipes it one last time with his tunic. He inspects it. It looks new again. He sets it down on the bench next to him, aligning it perfectly with the edge of the wood, just like the pebble from before. Scoop, pebble, lamp, a row of objects. He feels a hollowness in his stomach. It has been many hours since his last meal. The hard work of the treading and the lifting has burned through his energy. He reaches for a small leather satchel that hangs from a peg on the wall. He unhooks it. He brings it to his lap. The leather is soft and worn, stained with oil. He opens the drawstring. He reaches inside. He pulls out a piece of bread. It is panis plebeius, common bread. It is dark, coarse, and heavy. It was baked yesterday, perhaps the day before. It is hard as a rock. He holds the bread in his hand. He feels the weight of it. It is a dense disk of wheat and bran. It smells faintly of yeast and fire. He breaks off a piece. Crack. The crust is thick. It resists his fingers. He has to use force. A few crumbs fall onto his knees. He puts the piece of bread in his mouth. He does not chew immediately. It is too hard. He lets it sit on his tongue. He lets his saliva soften the grain. He waits. He stares at the lamp. He waits for the bread to yield. Slowly, the crust begins to soften. The flavor releases. It tastes of earth and grain. It is a simple taste, but tonight it is enough. He begins to chew. Crunch, crunch. The sound resonates in his jaw. It is a loud sound to him, but in the room it is just a whisper. He swallows. He breaks off another piece. Snap, he eats. This is a slow meal. There is no wine to wash it down. There is no sauce to dip it in. Just the bread and the man. He finishes the bread. He brushes the crumbs from his tunic. Brush, brush, they fall to the floor. The mice will find them later. He is thirsty again. The dry bread absorbs the moisture in his mouth. He stands up and walks to the water basin. He cups his hands. He drinks. The water is cold. It wakes him up slightly. He splashes a little on his face. He rubs his eyes with wet palms. The water drips from his beard onto his chest. He does not wipe it off. He lets it dry in the air. He walks back to the center of the room. He feels the air temperature dropping. This is the coldest hour. The heat of the day is long gone, and the sun is still far away. The stone walls are radiating coldness now. He wraps his arms around himself. He rubs his upper arms with his hands. Friction, warmth. He paces. He walks a small circle in the atrium, step, 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 step. He walks past the soaking vats. The smell of the ammonia is still there, but the cold air has dampened it slightly. It lies low to the ground. He walks past the drying room door. He stops. He listens. Silence. The fire inside must be low now. The sulfur has likely burned down to embers. The smoke will be settling. The togas will be hanging in the white fog, absorbing the last of the bleach. He nods to the door. Good. He walks to the entrance of the pressing room. He looks inside. The press is a dark silhouette. The screw is still tight. The wood has not slipped. The clothes are still trapped. He steps into the room. He approaches the machine. He places his hand on the wooden lever. He pushes it gently just to check the tension. It does not move. It is rock solid. The compression is holding. He walks back to the main room. He looks up at the compluvium, the rectangular opening in the roof. The sky is still black, but is it a lighter shade of black, perhaps? Or perhaps it is just his eyes adjusting. There are no stars directly above, just the void. He leans against one of the pillars that supports the roof. The stone is limestone. It is rough. He runs his fingers over the texture of the stone. He feels the tiny pits and bumps. He traces a vein in the rock. It goes up, then zigzags down. He wonders how long this stone has been here. Before the laundry, before the emperor, before the city. It is just rock. It waits. He slides down the pillar again. He assumes his position on the floor. It is easier to rest here than on the bench. The ground feels solid. He stretches his legs out. He looks at his feet. They are pale in the darkness. The skin is wrinkled from the water. His toenails are short and ragged. He wiggles his big toe. Up, down, up, down. He watches the movement. It is a small confirmation of life. He thinks about the morning. When the sun comes up, the doors will open. The noise will return. The customers will come. Is my toga ready? Is the stain gone? Why is it taking so long? The master will come. He will check the vats. He will check the press. There will be shouting. There will be new bundles of dirty clothes, new urine to collect, new wood to burn. The cycle will start all over again. But that is hours away. Right now there is no master. There are no customers. There is only the worker and the waiting. He closes his eyes. He listens to the building. Buildings make noise at night. They settle. They contract as they cool down. He hears a tick from the roof tiles. a creak from the wooden beams, a faint groan from the drying racks in the other room. It is a symphony of inanimate objects. He focuses on his breathing. In, 1, 2, 3, out, 1, 2, 3, in, 1, 2, 3, out, 1, 2, 3. His breath creates a small cloud of mist in the cold air. He cannot see it with his eyes closed, but he can feel the warmth of it on his upper lip. He shifts his position. The stone floor is hard on his hip bone. He adjusts his tunic to create a small cushion. He leans his head back against the pillar. He drifts. He is not asleep. He is in the gray zone, the place between waking and sleeping, the place where time stretches out. A minute feels like an hour feels like a minute. He remembers the rhythm of the treading. Step, squelch, step, squelch. The sound plays in his memory. It is a comforting rhythm. It is the rhythm of his life. He remembers the flow of the water in the rinsing tank. Trickle, splash, trickle. The sound of clarity, the sound of cleansing. He opens his eyes. The lamp is still burning. The flame is smaller now. It is struggling. The oil is almost gone. He watches the flame pulse. It dims, it brightens, it dims. He should refill it, but he is tired, and the darkness is not so bad. He decides to let it burn for a while longer. He will see how long it lasts. He watches the contest between the wick and the oil. A moth lands on the floor near the lamp. It is a different moth than before. This one is white. It crawls towards the light. It stops a few inches away. It bathes in the warmth. The worker watches the moth. Hello, he thinks. He does not say it, he just thinks it. The moth vibrates its wings. BZZT, a tiny sound. Then it settles. The worker and the moth, both waiting for the sun. He feels a heavy drowsiness wash over him. His head tips forward. His chin touches his chest. He jerks awake. He blinks. He cannot fall asleep. He must watch. He stands up. He needs to move. He walks to the far corner of the room, to the shelves where the finished clothes are stacked. He runs his hand along the shelf. He checks the stack of tunics. They are neat. They are aligned. He straightens the top one by a millimeter. Precision. He walks to the door. He puts his hand on the iron bolt. It is cold. He feels the solidity of the metal. It is locked. The world is locked out. He is safe inside. He turns back to the room. The shadows are long. They stretch across the floor like dark fingers. He steps over a shadow. He walks back to his bench. He sits. He picks up the clean wooden scoop again. He holds it like a scepter, the king of the laundry. He smiles, a small, tired smile in the dark. Then the smile fades, and the waiting continues. The oil lamp on the bench is dying. The worker sits and watches the final moments of the flame. It has been his companion for the entire night, a small, living thing in a room of stone and water. Now the oil is gone. The wick is dry. The flame flutters. It jumps up one last time, a desperate flare of orange light that reaches out to the walls, momentarily illuminating the cracks in the plaster and the curve of the soaking vats. Then it shrinks. It turns blue near the base. It becomes a tiny, glowing dot. It is gone. A thin wisp of gray smoke rises from the blackened wick, smelling of burnt linen and stale olive oil. The smell drifts past the worker's nose, sharp and familiar. For a moment the room is pitch black. The worker does not move. He does not panic. He knows this room better than he knows his own face. He knows where the vats are. He knows where the pillars are. He waits for his eyes to adjust. Slowly the darkness shifts. It is not the total blackness of the underground cistern. It is the gray darkness of the early morning. Above him, the compluvium, the square opening in the roof, is no longer a black void. It is a square of deep, deep indigo. The night is beginning to thin. The The stars have vanished. The moon has gone. It is the time of the false dawn, the gray hour before the sun. The light that enters the room is weak and ghostly. It does not cast shadows. It merely turns objects into silhouettes. The soaking vats look like dark holes in the floor. The drying racks in the distance look like skeletons. The air has changed too. This is the coldest hour. The heat of the previous day has completely left the stones. The cold seeps up from the ground, through the soles of his feet and into his bones. It is a damp, clinging cold. The worker shivers once, a full-body shudder. He wraps his arms tightly around his chest, burying his hands in his armpits to keep them warm. He stands up. He needs to move to generate heat. He begins to pace the perimeter of the atrium. Step, step, step. He walks carefully in the dim light. He knows exactly how many steps it takes to get from the bench to the wall. 12 steps. He turns. He walks along the wall, 10 steps to the corner. He turns. His bare feet make no sound. He is a ghost patrolling his own domain. He approaches the soaking vats for the final inspection of the night. In this gray light, the liquid in the jars looks like ink. It is perfectly still. He leans over the first vat. He cannot see the bottom anymore. He can only see the flat, reflective surface. He reaches down. He breaks the surface with his hand. The liquid is cold. It feels slimy, thickened by the dissolved oils and the ammonia. He finds the fabric of a tunic. He squeezes it. It feels different now. Hours ago, it felt like wet wool. Now it feels swollen. The fibers have opened up. The dirt has loosened. The magic has happened. The tunic is heavy, sodden, and soft. It is ready for the morning wash, but not yet. It must wait for the other workers. It must wait for the light. He withdraws his hand. He shakes the liquid off. Flick, flick. Drops fly into the darkness. He wipes his hand on his tunic. He moves to the drying room door. The sulfur fire has been out for a long time. The door is cool to the touch now. He places his palm flat against the wood. He feels the grain. He decides to open it just a crack. He needs to ventilate the room before the master arrives. He grips the iron handle. He turns it. Clack. He pulls the door open just an inch. A puff of air escapes. It smells faintly of matches, of brimstone, but it is not overpowering. The smoke has settled. The air inside is still, holding the silence of the bleaching process. He leaves the door ajar just slightly to let the fresh morning air begin to circulate. He walks back to the center of the atrium. He looks up at the roof opening again. The square of sky is changing color. It is shifting from indigo to a lighter steel gray. The transition is so slow that if you stare at it, you cannot see it happen. You have to look away and look back to notice the difference. He hears a sound from outside, a bird, just one, a single chirp, cheep. It is a tentative sound as if the bird is asking permission to start the day. Silence follows. Then another chirp from a different direction, twit. The birds are waking up. The city is still dead, but nature is stirring. The worker takes a deep breath. The air is crisp. It tastes of dew and stone. He decides to sweep the floor. It is a ritual, a way to welcome the day, a way to warm his blood. He walks to the corner where the broom, the scopy, leans against the wall. He picks it up. The handle is smooth and cold. The bristles are made of bound twigs, stiff and scratching. He starts at the back of the room near the treading stalls. He sweeps. Swish, scratch. The sound is loud in the silence. Swish, scratch. He pushes the invisible dust towards the center of the room. He sweeps around the base of the stalls. He sweeps the stone pathway. He moves methodically, left to right, step forward, left to right. He is not just cleaning dirt, he is cleaning time. He is sweeping away the night. With every stroke of the broom, the sky gets a tiny bit brighter. He reaches the area near the water basin. The floor is damp here. The broom makes a different sound. Slap swish. He pushes the moisture towards the drain. He works his way around the pillars. He has to sweep in a circle around each stone base. Round and round. He is careful not to hit the stone with the wood of the broom. He wants to be quiet. He respects the sleep of the world. He reaches the main entrance, the heavy door he barred hours ago. He sweeps the dust into a small pile near the threshold. There is a small piece of straw, a few crumbs from his bread, a flake of dried mud, the detritus of the night shift. He sweeps the pile onto a wooden tray. He dumps it into the waste bin. Rustle, done. He puts the broom back. He leans it against the wall at the exact same angle he found it. Everything must be in its place. He stands in the center of the room and stretches. He reaches his arms up towards the gray square of light. He arches his back. His spine cracks. Pop, pop. He lowers his arms. He rolls his shoulders. Forward, backward. The gray light is filtering down into the room now. He can see the colors returning. The terracotta pots are turning from black to a dull red. The stone walls are turning from gray to a creamy white. The world is regaining its definition. He walks over to the press in the other room. He needs to see it in the daylight or the pre-light. He enters the pressing room. It is darker here, away from the roof opening. The press looms large, a wooden giant. He inspects the screw. It is still tight. The grease on the threads looks yellowish in the dim light. He looks at the stack of clothes. The edges are sharp. The pressure has done its work. The tunics are flat. The togas are compressed. They look like pages in a book of wool. He runs his finger along the edge of the wooden board that separates the layers. Dust check. His finger comes away clean. Good. He leaves the pressing room. He goes to the water basin. He splashes his face again. This time he scrubs his skin. He washes the sleep out of his eyes. He washes the night off his forehead. He uses a small piece of rough linen to dry his face. The friction feels good. It wakes up his skin. He looks at his reflection in the water. It is clearer now than it was in the vat. He sees his own eyes. They are tired, rimmed with red, but they are awake. He strokes his beard. It is damp. He walks over to the collection jar he brought in from the street, the one full of urine. He checks it. It is sitting there, calm and heavy. He realizes he should cover it. The morning sun might warm it up and release the smell too early. He finds a wooden lid, a simple circle of pine. He places it over the jar. Clop. It fits perfectly. He walks back to the bench. The lamp is cold now. The oil residue at the bottom has congealed. He picks up the lamp. He wipes the soot from the nozzle with a rag. He cleans it for the next night. He sets it down. He sits on the bench. The cold is still here, but it is changing. It is the cold of anticipation. The sky above is now a pale, washed-out blue. The gray is leaving. He listens. Far away, very far away, he hears the sound of a cart. Rumble, rumble, iron wheels on stone. It is the first delivery cart of the morning, perhaps bringing grain to the bakery or vegetables to the market. The city is turning in its sleep. It is about to wake up. Then he hears a dog bark. Not the lonely bark of the night, but an alert bark, a morning bark. And then the sound of a shutter banging opens somewhere down the street. Bang. The worker does not move. He stays on his bench. His shift is not over until the sun hits the top of the wall. He watches the light creep down the wall, inch by inch. It illuminates a crack he hasn't seen all night. It illuminates a spider web in the corner. He focuses on the spider web. It is covered in dew. Tiny droplets of water cling to the silk threads. They sparkle in the diffuse light. They look like a necklace of diamonds. The spider is gone, sleeping perhaps, or waiting. The worker breathes in. In he breathes out, out. His breath is no longer visible. The air is warming up just a fraction. He feels a sense of accomplishment. Nothing happened. No fire, no theft, no spill. The clothes are soaked. The clothes are dried. The clothes are pressed. He has shepherded the laundry through the dangerous hours of darkness. He has kept the rhythm. He looks at his hands. In the daylight, he can see the stains of the dye and the earth more clearly. They are the hands of a fullo. They will never be clean, not really, but they make things clean. He leans his head back against the wall. He closes his eyes for just a moment, enjoying the sounds of the waking world. The cart is closer now. Rumble, clatter, rumble, he hears a voice. A man shouting at a mule. Ha! A distant, muffled sound. The solitude is breaking. The bubble of silence is popping. He opens his eyes. The room is visible. It is a workroom. It is messy, practical, smelling of ammonia and wet wool. It is not beautiful, but it is real. He stands up. He straightens his tunic. He reties his belt. He prepares his face. He puts on the mask of the worker, the passive, ready expression. He is ready for the master. He is ready for the noise. He walks to the front door. He stands by the heavy wooden bar. He waits for the knock. He waits for the sun. The light from the roof opening hits the floor in a distinct square now. It is bright. It reveals the dust he missed with the broom. He looks at the dust. He shrugs. It will be there tomorrow night. He rests his hand on the wood of the door. He feels the vibration of a heavy wagon passing right outside. The wood trembles under his palm. The city is here. He takes one last look back at the quiet room. The vats, the racks, the shadows. Goodbye, night. The square of light on the floor has become solid. It is no longer a gray, ghostly patch. It is a clear, defined rectangle of morning sun. It cuts through the dusty air of the atrium, illuminating the floating particles that have been disturbed by the sweeping. The sun has climbed over the city walls, over the rooftops, and found its way down into the heart of the laundry. The worker stands at the door. His hand is still resting on the heavy wooden bar. He feels the warmth of the wood. The door is the barrier between the silence of his night and the rhythm of the day. He hears footsteps approaching from the outside. Scuff, scuff, scuff. They are slow, deliberate steps. They stop right in front of the door. A fist knocks on the wood 3 times. Thump, thump, thump. It is not an aggressive knock. It is a signal, a code. The worker lifts the heavy oak bar. He has done this 1,000 times. He slides it back into the wall niche. The wood groans against the stone. Grrrrrrrrrrr. Click. He grips the iron ring. He pulls the door open. Kriak. The light floods in. It is sudden and bright, blinding him for a second. He blinks. The air that rushes in is different from the night air. It carries the smell of wood smoke from 100 breakfast fires, the smell of baking bread, and the dust of the street. Standing in the doorway is another man. He is dressed in a similar rough tunic. He looks awake but not energetic. He holds a small sack of food for his day. This is the day worker, the relief. They do not speak much. There is no need for conversation. The work is the same every day. The day worker nods. The night worker nods back. The day worker steps inside. He looks at the swept floor. He looks at the covered jars. He looks at the neat stack of wood. He grunts in approval. He walks past the night worker heading straight for the vats. He picks up the pole. The cycle continues immediately. There is no pause. The laundry does not stop. Only the hands that tend it chain. The night worker steps out. He crosses the threshold. His feet hit the paving stones of the street. He turns around and pushes the heavy door until it is almost closed, leaving it just ajar for the customers who will come soon. He is outside. The street is waking up. It is not yet crowded, but it is alive. A woman walks by carrying a basket of kale. She does not look at him. She is focused on her destination. A donkey stands tied to a post, chewing on a bit of straw. Crunch, crunch. It flicks its ear to shake off a fly. The worker begins his walk home. He does not live far. No one travels far in this city. He lives in an insula, a large apartment block a few streets away. He walks slowly. There is no rush now. His time is his own. The urgency of the vats is gone. The pressure of the press is gone. He walks past a public fountain. It is a stone basin carved with the face of a lion. Water pours from the lion's mouth into the trough below. Splash, burble. The sound is refreshing. He stops. He cups his hands under the lion's mouth. He washes the laundry dust from his neck. The water is cold and shocking. It runs down his back. He wipes his face with his sleeve. He continues walking. He passes a bakery, the pistrinum. The heavy wooden shutters are open. The heat radiates out from the ovens. The smell is intoxicating, warm, yeast-filled air. He hears the sound of the millstone turning. Grind, grind, grind. It is a deep, heavy sound, stone crushing grain. He hears the baker slapping dough onto a wooden table. Whack, whack, whack. It is a rhythmic percussion, the heartbeat of the morning. The worker listens to it as he passes. It fades behind him as he turns the corner. The shadows on the street are long and sharp. The sun is still low. The worker walks in the shade of the tall buildings. The stones under his feet are cool. He reaches his building. It is a tall brick structure rising 4 stories into the air. The plaster is peeling in places. It is a humble place. He enters the dark archway of the entrance. He begins to climb the stairs. The stairs are made of wood. They are steep, step, creak, step, creak, step. He holds the rail. It is polished smooth by thousands of hands. He climbs to the 3rd floor. He is tired now. His legs feel heavy, like the wet wool he carried all night. The adrenaline of the shift has faded, leaving only a deep, heavy exhaustion. He reaches his door. It is a simple wooden plank with a latch. He lifts the latch. Click. He pushes the door open. The room is small. It is dim. There is a small window, but it is covered with a cloth to keep the morning light out. The room is quiet. It is a sanctuary. There is a small table, a stool, a chest for his few belongings, and in the corner his bed. It is not a luxurious bed. It is a wooden frame with a mattress stuffed with straw and wool. But to him, right now, it looks like the most comfortable place in the empire. He walks to the chest. He unties his belt. He lets it fall from his waist. He pulls his tunic over his head. He folds it. Even now, tired as he is, he folds it. The habit of the laundry is deep in his muscles. He places the tunic on the chest. He sits on the edge of the bed. The straw mattress rustles under his weight. Crinkle. He reaches down to his sandals. He undoes the left strap. He undoes the right strap. He slides his feet out. He wiggles his toes. They are free. He swings his legs up onto the bed. He lies back. Allah. His head hits the small, rough pillow. His back sinks into the straw. The tension in his spine releases. The muscles in his shoulders unlock. He pulls a thin wool blanket over himself. It is coarse, but it is warm. He closes his eyes. He can still hear the city outside, but now it is distant. It is muffled by the walls of the building. The sound of the carts is a low hum. RMMMMMM. The sound of a vendor shouting his wares is just a melody. Ooh, ah yeah. The sound of a dog barking is soft. Woof. These sounds do not disturb him. They are the lullaby of Rome. They mean that the world is working so he does not have to. The day's shift has begun. The city is churning. The vats are being stirred. The press is being turned, but not by him. He focuses on the darkness behind his eyelids. He sees the faint afterimage of the oil lamp, a small orange dot that fades and fades. He sees the swirling of the black liquid in the vat, round and round, slow and steady. He feels the bed floating. He feels like the tunic floating in the rinsing tank, weightless, supported by the water, drifting in the current. His breathing slows down, in, out. He thinks of the clean white togas hanging in the drying room, static, still, perfect. He thinks of the smell of the sulfur, gone now, replaced by the smell of straw. His hand relaxes, his fingers uncurl, his jaw relaxes, his thoughts become slow and slippery. They slide away before he can catch them. He hears the millstone in the distance again. Grind, grind, it matches his heartbeat. Thump, thump. The sun is rising outside, getting brighter and hotter. But here in the corner of the room it is cool. It is dark. The cycle is complete. The wool is clean. The night is over. He sinks deeper into the mattress. The sounds of the city become a white noise, a continuous, gentle roar like the ocean. He lets go of the vigilance. He lets go of the fire. He lets go of the water. Everything is done. Everything is in its place. There is nothing to do for hours, nothing to do but drift. He takes one last deep breath. He exhales. The world fades away. The laundry fades away. Only the sleep remains. Sleep asleep.